I want to address an issue which might be big, and that is low-tech flipping. What if you are at a school where students have limited access to technology? That is an important question. How can you still flip at a low-tech school? Now, I think there are a couple of answers. First of all, there is some technology that you, the teacher, need to have. Minimally, I believe you need to have a computer or a tablet. Just one, right? Keep this in mind. So you need something to create the content. So in a low-tech flipping environment, there is a minimal requirement of at least the computers for the teachers. But the question is let's say you've created your video and you need to get them to students who have limited access at home. Now, the good news is I've done this. When I first flipped my class in 2007, 30% of my students did not have the internet. How did I solve that problem? Well, actually, the answer was I had lots of solutions to the problem. So the way I solved this problem, frankly, is I sat down and I talked with my kids. And I asked my students, how are you going to access the content? And I heard a number of different responses. Number one, some students actually had a computer at home, but the computer wasn't hooked up to the internet. So for these students, I gave them flash drives. There is an expense, but sometimes you have to pay to make these things happen. The second instance is I had some students who didn't have a computer at home, but they had an iPod. Now, an iPod, you guys remember iPods? Now, mostly kids have got maybe cell phones or smartphones or whatever. These smartphones can connect to the internet, but maybe they can't do data. Do you realize that you can take an iPod or a smartphone, or frankly, a dumb phone, and you can put videos on them? So if the student has a personal device, figure out how to get the videos on them locally. Not when they're connected to the internet, but locally. And the third thing I was able to do is I was able to put the videos onto a DVD. Most of my students had rented a movie at the DVD store, and therefore they could play the DVD. So we had kids we were making DVDs for, and it worked for them. So this can be solved. So if you're in a low-tech environment where a lot of your students have limited access, you can use one or a mixture of all of these kinds of techniques. If I taught at a school with very limited tech access, I would look for some money to buy what are called MP4 players. Now, an MP4 player is really kind of like the old iPod, but the beauty is that these are very inexpensive. They cost a minimal amount of money. In fact, here is one that I just pulled up on the internet, and you can see it's very inexpensive to purchase. Much less expensive than buying every student a $500, PC or tablet device or whatever it might be. These are much more manageable. So think how you're going to do low-tech flipping. Now, the other aspect of low-tech flipping is a lot of the video interactions that we've talked about in this unit itself requires an internet connection. So you're not going to be able to expect that students can interact with the content at home if they're watching it on a device where they have to download the video. Does that make sense? So what you're going to have to do to get video interaction is have kids simply take paper notes. And as they take paper notes, you're going to check their paper notes. In fact, that's how I did it, okay? Back in 2007, when the flipped classroom got started, I checked their notes. And so if that's the situation that you're at, maybe you need to do the low-tech answer. And the last thing I want to say about low-tech flipping is oftentimes you've actually got low-tech at home, but decent tech at school. So have students use school devices. Maybe you have a few devices in your classroom. Maybe you have a few devices in your school library. Figure out where the school devices are. Open up your school before school. Stay late. Allow students to use the technology at the school. And so I think that's huge. If you can figure out how to help kids get access to the internet at school. In fact, I believe, as many even politicians are saying, that access to the internet is really becoming a fundamental right because of those who don't have access are frankly really losing out to those who do. And it's becoming a fundamental right, just like the right of a good education. Well, a lot of education is now found out in the wild. So low-tech flipping is possible. So I encourage you to, if you're in this kind of a situation, figure out how you're going to do flipping even when you have students who have limited access at home.